everyone. Namaste and welcome to the D Show on Saturday evening. Well, I'm Dr. D and I have my tea right here with me. I hope you all have got your teas and coffees and are ready for some invigorating conversation. As you know, that I like to bring in guests who are sort of unsung heroes, who are modest, who are very down to earth from across industries. And these are the hidden gems who are paving the way, being the trendsetters for everybody, especially the youth of today, to follow and to dispel and break a lot of myths. My job here is to help you get all the inspiration and motivation, whether be it your hobby, passion, or a full time career, and get you right what you need the most. All the inside scoop, behind the scene conversations from across the industries, as well as a lot of know how straight from the experts and the specialists themselves. So I hope you all are ready today because it is the festive season, it is a holiday season coming up, and the end of the year, we all want to click a lot of photographs, create a lot of memories. So today I thought it would be perfect as we near the end of 2021 to bring in a guest who's going to make us understand all the behind the scene conversations on the D Show with the world of photography. Let me introduce him quickly here. Well, he is a legendary photographer, in my opinion, of course, a name to reckon with. He has worked with many celebrities, and he's here to give us all the insights after working with Olympics stars such as Mary Kom, PV Sindhu, and of course, a lot of brands like Tanishq, Bridgestone, etc. Let me just bring in here Sameer Belwalkar.
Hello.
Hi, Sameer. How are you?
Hi, Dr. D. That's such a new name for you. I'm still getting used to it. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely fine. So, Sameer, just hang in there because I'm getting a few messages from my lot of viewers here. I hope we are visible to everybody across social media. Well, thank you, Vishal, for giving us our first comment. Please, somebody validate on social media that Sameer and I are audible and visible to all of you because we want to make this extremely special. On YouTube, you are. Let's see what's happening with the other social media channels. Great. I'm getting a few thumbs ups here on my WhatsApp. Okay. Sameer, it's a live show, live industry, one take, and you also belong to that industry. While we have a lot of audiences who are tuning in right now with us, I want to know from you that you work with celebrities and you work with absolutely mango people such as myself. How does it feel to work with people from two end of the spectrums?
Honestly, it's a very overwhelming feeling when you're shooting celebrities. But you know what happens is, over time, it sort of fades off, and you come to a point where everybody standing in front of the camera is your Shah Rukh Khan, and everybody standing in front of your camera is your Aishwarya Rai. So trust me, I'm as nervous. If I'm shooting a celebrity, or as nervous if I'm shooting somebody from a normal walk of life, because ultimately my job is to make them look good. With celebrities I have to try a little less hard, so in that sense I'm a little relieved. But then again, there's a different challenge of managing the celebrity where I don't really have to get into it while I'm shooting somebody from a common walk of life. But at the same time, the challenge over there is to warm that person up to the camera and pull the right strings and make them look good. So it's
Correct.
great, it's great. But I really like the latter. I like picking people from normal walks of life and making them look like stars, because I think if as a photographer I can do that, then I think I've achieved something as an artist.
Well, I couldn't agree more with you. And I would like to tell all my viewers that in 2011, when I wanted to make a choice between which photographer to go with to shoot my last portfolio, I had narrowed down to the celebrity photographer Dabbu Ratnani and Sameer Belwalkar. And actually, I went with Sameer because I saw a lot of passion, a lot of support, that Samir gave from behind the scenes to make me look the best version of myself. Samir, you do that with your, models, you do that with the artists that you're working with. How draining is that? Because I don't see, I worked with some of the top photographers of the country and of the world. And trust me, I don't see the amount of commitment and dedication and beyond just the clicking photograph skill that they put in. So, how draining is that for you?
So, over about 2 decades of doing it, it's honestly like second nature to me now, because I sort of have identified a certain personality types, and I know that this is going to work with this person, and it's pretty much on autopilot. But to answer your question in probably a little greater detail, it is a little tough because ultimately I have to make the person feel good about himself or herself, and it just puts a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to do that. Also, one place where people go wrong is they feel that because they're in a photo shoot and because they are posing in front of a camera, they have to just be a totally different person and pull out a lot of tricks from their hat, so to speak. But I have to constantly tone them down, and the real essence is in making them believe that what they already are is good enough, and that they don't really have to try very hard, and what they are coming to me with is good in itself to make them look good in front of the camera. So
Wow.
it's a different kind of a battle. But yeah, I'm a little better at fighting those now, or let's just say that my patience has increased over the years. But yeah, I managed to get through.
Don't we all need to do that? And I've seen how patient you are with your team when you are at work and your clients. So tell me, do you manage to keep all your clients happy?
I try to, because if anybody needs to be happy as a part of me doing my job, it's the client, because then what have I achieved? So there have been times when the shoot is not going my way, but the client is thrilled with it, and well, that's just like a feather in my cap, because if the client is happy, then somewhere I've done my job well from a commercial perspective. And art is something that no two people can agree on, or rather, no two people have to agree on. So as long as my client is happy, I'm happy. So yeah, it is a uphill climb at times. Sometimes it's very, very difficult convincing the client that what his idea is not the best. But it's something that has to be done. So yeah.
So there are many myths associated with photography. In
Yeah.
fact, so many things that even I don't know. And my husband is just building a passion of cameras and clicking photographs. But there are some myths. I mean, do you really need to have a very expensive equipment to be a good photographer?
So to answer that question, I can answer a question. I can ask a question back to you. That is it essential for somebody who cooks good food to have a very expensive pan?
No, no, not at all. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It is all
Correct.
in the
Correct.
skill. Right.
Exactly. So it's all about the person behind the camera, and that's one of the biggest myths that I try to bust with a lot of people who come to me for advice or mentorship or portfolio critique. I see a lot of people not even pick up the camera because they feel that they have a very average camera and they need something which is like a full frame, some technical jargons, like a full frame camera, a certain number of megapixels, a prime lens versus a zoom lens. So there is a lot of these myths that they feel that only if they have this will they achieve something extraordinary. But in my head, I think these are just reasons, these are just tools of procrastination. There's nothing more to it. Because, as an artist, I think being an artist is a very courageous job, if you ask me. It takes a lot of guts to be an artist, because uh, I'll tell you about me. When I pick up the camera, and if I'm going to be doing a photo shoot, I'm always risking not getting on camera what I have in my head, because everything happens in the head first. The image forms in my head first. So it's
Right.
a very
Right.
courageous thing to still pick up the camera, because that's the moment of truth. Either you have done your job and what you have in your head is exactly what you get on camera, or then you get something which is totally not up to it. And that's the determining factor of if you're a good photographer or a bad photographer, because that's the whole idea of photography. What you have in your head, you translate into a visual medium. And in that sense, I think a lot of people don't pick up their cameras because they are afraid of facing their moment of truth. And I think the biggest reason for that is I don't have expensive equipment, I don't have good equipment, and so I will delay it for as long as possible.
Wow, that is so true. When I used to model at that point in time, everybody used to say camera doesn't lie. Whatever it is in your soul will be reflected in your aura, which the camera is going to capture. A follow up on that question, Mamta is asking, is there something like camera fear? So I'm
Oh,
guessing she has camera fear. So why don't you share some experiences that do you encounter people who have a lot of camera fear?
I think everybody has camera fear. You take anybody, you take a superstar, you take a politician, you take somebody from a Modi to a Putin to anybody you want. How much ever great they are, you point a camera towards anybody, and they are all stiff like this. They're all, yeah, they freeze. It's a very powerful tool. So I don't know how many of you have listened to my TED talk. I open with saying that a pen is mightier than the sword, but what is mightier than a pen? It's a camera pointed straight at you.
Wow. Yeah, so true. So
Yeah,
true.
correct, correct. So of course, camera fear is a very real thing, and I think as a photographer, most of my effort goes in making the person comfortable to face the camera and to help them drop this fear. Because only when you drop this fear, once they forget that there's a camera, that's when they let loose, and that's when all the magic starts happening.
So, since you spoke about celebrities and people have to be comfortable and it takes a little bit of time for them in front of the camera to showcase the magic. You worked with Aishwarya Rai Bachchan, and I'd like to tell all the audiences here for Jodha Akbar, right? And you
Yeah.
did the publicity photography. So, all of you friends, all the hoardings that we saw, they were shot by Sameer. He's worked with some of the biggest Bollywood artists, and this comes to my mind because Aishwarya looked splendid. So tell me that celebrities at that level, do they also experience fear or anxiety?
See, I'm pretty sure they do because I haven't really seen, as a photographer, you start sensing it after a while. As celebrities, they're in a job description where they have to look smashing and good all the time. One false move and it just doesn't happen for them, and that's what they're paid for. Uh, so, yeah, I think to answer that question very shortly, yes, celebrities also face a lot of camera fear, and I've seen that happen in a few cases, honestly. There are people like Kajol, there are people like Ajay Devgan, there are people that I've heard of. I haven't shot Amitabh Bachchan yet, unfortunately, but pretty soon, I hope. I know Kajol, Ajay Devgan to have, they don't like facing the camera. And whenever I've shot
Right.
them, it's always like get it over with fast, you know. And when celebrities are used to facing the motion camera so often, they're always emoting, they're always doing an action sequence, they're doing humor. It's very dynamic. And what happens is, suddenly when they're facing a still camera and they don't have to do any of this and just stand, hold a stance, and just express everything through a still picture, that just becomes very, very challenging, and a lot of people don't like it. So I'm pretty sure it boils down to having the camera fear. It's there.
It's there, right? So Vishal wants to know, what do you prefer amongst black and white or color? That also is a myth. I've heard many people ask me that question because obviously, thanks to Sameer, my photographs come out really nice. But they ask me that, are the cameras separate for black and white pictures because we see some
No.
stunning on media, or are they the same, and is it very easy to do black and white?
So I started on film. So if you want to nail black and white, you have to understand something which is called the zone system. It's a very technical thing, and it's very complex. You need a lot of practice to master the zone system. For anybody who's interested in shooting black and whites, you can just check it on YouTube and try and learn more about that. My personal preference. Okay, the second part of the question was, are there different cameras for black and white? No. the In case of film, there used to be black and white rolls and colored rolls. Now in
Okay.
digital, it's just a click of a button, and whatever you want can be turned into black and white. But it's not that simple. If you understand the zone system, you'll come to know that when you're looking at something which is in color, you have to understand what tone of gray will it change to. Like, red will change to a different tone of gray. So will orange, green, pink, purple. Everything is going to turn into a different shade of gray. So
Oh,
when you look,
wow. Okay.
yeah, when you're looking at something which is in color, you have to process it in your head as black and white to know
Dear
what's
Lord.
going to work, what's not going to work. It's not as simple as just turning it to black and white. It'll give you a black and white picture, but it'll not be technically sound, so to speak.
So Nitin is asking you, welcome to the show, Samir. I have a question. I believe you shoot with Hasselblad. I'm guessing that's the name of a camera.
Yeah.
How different is medium format from full frame, and how does it impact your creative process?
So I personally love shooting on that camera. In fact, I had a shoot this morning, which I shot on that itself. So medium format basically is going to give you more digital information because the size of the image sensor. I'll not get into too much of technical details, but just brushing up on the surface. It's going to give you more information because the size of the digital sensor is bigger than a normal camera or a 35 millimeter camera. So that's why a normal camera, every DSLR that every other person has is a 35 millimeter format, as against a medium format, which is a 120 millimeter format. So more surface area exposed, the more information you have. The Hasselblad and a medium format is very, very unforgiving because it catches each and every detail, and it'll show you immediately what a nonsensical photographer you are.
Wow. That quick a judgment, huh?
That big a judgment, because it's very unforgiving. It'll catch things, and it'll tell you on your face like this is not correct and that is not correct. So you got to be absolutely sound in what you're doing with the light.
I'm sure a lot of what you said was understood by many passionate photographers who are watching this show right now, and Nitin. Some part of it was Greek to me.
Correct, correct. I didn't delve too much into the technicalities, but just on the surface, yes.
Well, we have interesting questions and comments coming in, and I'm going to encourage everybody to just reach out to us. No dumb questions here. Guess what? I'm asking dumb questions myself. So, Vishal is saying, Samir, how do you handle rejections? So, you have planned shoot in some manner, and model person just don't agree. Any particular instance?
So there have been, but I know, thankfully, not to blow my own trumpet, but I feel that I'm at a point right now where I don't think that I can take a bad picture even if I want to, honestly. So it's just come through a lot of practice and too many shoots gone wrong.
No, but okay, so
Yeah,
let's go back to the start of your career.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, because obviously Vishal needs some inspiration,
Of course, of
and
course.
your personality today, with your stature, with your expertise, is obviously people think you have it all figured out,
Right,
right? You and I, we often discuss over coffee that how we look at effort, make it look effortless, and people think we have it all figured out, although we struggle too. So why
right.
don't you share, without taking any names, maybe one experience where you really had a tough time? I mean, you had your best intention, best expertise, maybe from the start of your career, and it didn't go so well, and you had to face rejection. So what did you do to overcome rejection?
I'll tell you. I'll tell you two instances where I was offended to the point of view of just keeping the camera away, because I really felt like what have I done, even leaving my job and picking up the camera. So of course I started on film, and digital was not even on horizon for the next couple of years to come. So I did a shoot for a product company who was making some electrical components. It was film, of course. So on the lighting, that we use, we've got a yellow bulb which is called the pilot light or the modeling bulb, which gives you a sense of how the lighting is going to look. Because when you click the camera, you get a burst of light, as you must have seen. So that's only
Yes.
for a fraction of a second. But how do you know how this light is going to mold your subject? So for that, you've got like a modeling lamp or a pilot lamp. You switch that on. It's generally yellow in color, and you can set the light. You can see how much shadows you're getting, how's the composition looking, how much is the detail on the product you're getting. So what I did, as as a really smart photographer that I was I did the entire shoot in the modeling lamp, you know
Oh.
absolutely not knowing that it's going to give me a horrible yellow cast on my pictures. All the electrical components were bright white in color, and of course it's film, so I don't know what I'm going to get until I give it to process and then get prints, and then the client is waiting for the final delivery, and I get all the pictures in my hand, and everything is yellow.
Oh dear Lord, how
Oh
did
my
you,
God.
what did you do? And it's all time sensitive, as I understand. Your industry is all
It's
time
time sensitive.
sensitive.
But
And
I did not know it back then. I did not know a lot of things back then. I just knew that I wanted to become a photographer because there was just this inner voice driving me crazy. And I just completely let into it. So I did not even know that I should not, I did not even know that giving these kind of pictures is unacceptable. So I said, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. And I very
please
proudly,
tell me what was the reaction of the client?
so he called up my friend, not friend, an acquaintance who's through whose agency I got this. And I was referred to this job by somebody else. So there were like three, four people involved in between me and the client. So all of them came to know that this disaster has happened. And then I was told very nicely that you are a hole, you know. So
It's a live show. I couldn't beep it.
I beat it. I just said a hole. So
Good.
yeah,
Okay.
correct, correct. So, and I'm like, well, okay, so it's supposed to be white. Well, okay, I should have used the flash. That's what the flash is for. That's what the modeling lamp is for. Big learning. You know, I'm glad I had that in the beginning of my career, not when I was shooting Ritik or a Aishwarya or a Shahrukh. So that's a blessing in disguise. So to save the day, I at my own cost, I offered to fix the entire thing for them. I asked for 2 3 days time, and I did a lot of research. I spoke to some of my photographer friends back, in the day, and I fixed the shoot for the client, and I gave them everything spick and span at my own cost because a client being
Wow.
happy was extremely important. So that
But
was
did
the
you
first.
have that much money to sponsor it on your own?
I
Usually,
hardly
at
had I hardly had money to buy film. So
but that's nice of you, and you kept your integrity high. Because I
yes.
was just about to ask you, did you refund the client? Because the easiest way is, you know what, I'm returning the money back and take an exit, but you actually fixed it.
I fixed it. And see, nowadays I tell them that okay, money on the table. Give me my 50%. Otherwise, I'm not making a single call. At that time, I had nothing to claim. At that time, only if I give the pictures and if they're good enough, then in his own sweet time, he will pay me the entire money. There was no concept of an advance. At least I was not in the position to ask for it.
True, true.
Yeah.
No, very well said. And thank you for sharing. What about the other incident?
The other incidences, again, so I got this entire stack of prints made of all my pictures which I thought were award winning pictures, like Pulitzer winning pictures. And I thought, okay, I've just arrived, and I took the entire stack of pictures to Bombay to a stock photography agency. And all these pictures were typical pictures which people come to me with, showing perspective, and like one pillar is in focus, everything else is out of focus, and then there's like a buffalo in the water, and on the horns there's a crow sitting, and some ridiculous shots of silhouettes against the sunset. That's what everyone is shooting nowadays. That's how your career starts, or that's how your hobby starts as a photographer. So I very proudly took it to this person in Bombay, and he looked at all the pictures, and in front of me he threw the entire stack in the dustbin.
Dear Lord.
I'm telling you, I was not
I hope
crying.
you didn't like bash the client.
No, no, no. I was heartbroken. I was like, what just happened? This is like a reality check. This is like divine intervention. And he threw the entire stack, and he gave me an example that some camera company had done a project where they distributed the cameras to all the street side beggars in Bombay, and they wanted them to click pictures because they wanted to see how Bombay looks from their perspective. And he's seen those pictures, and even those pictures are better.
Wow.
That was like a kick below the belt. And
Rejection and insult.
yeah, and he was done talking after a while, and I was feeling numb all over my body, and I was just sitting in his office for 15 20 minutes after that, and I did not even know how to react. But very unknowingly, I realized that there were tears rolling down, and I was not even crying. So
I
that
can
was
imagine.
that was like the biggest insult of my life, I would say. But again, I took it really well. I gave it the camera. That's what I did. That's how I took it well. I gave it the camera for the next 3 4 months. I did not shoot a single picture. But then again, this incessant voice in my head just wouldn't leave me alone. And then
Wow.
I came back stronger, and with a lot of determination of doing certain things, fixing certain things. So I think that was the biggest rejection of my life. But other than that, even today, like I said, art is very subjective. As a photographer, my entire endeavor is firstly to make the client happy. If in the process my models, the people who are facing the camera are happy, it's great. and then thirdly, I need to be happy. So if
Wow.
these three people are happy, I don't care if the world doesn't like it, because no photographer can make everyone happy. Even Da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Come on, I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't really think what is the big deal with this, right? But it's a masterpiece. So art is very very subjective, and on a commercial shoot, I will just try to make my client happy, the star or the artist happy, and myself happy. That's the end of the story for me.
Wow, so that's a big learning. Vishal, what an excellent question you asked. And I think we got a lot out of Samir here with some real life examples. And rejection happens to all of us, Samir, right? That's how we either move forward or we use another way to go in another direction. But people like you and me, we take it up as a challenge and remotivate ourselves and learn better and keep growing. So Mimansa Paliwal is saying, so honest. It's great to know about the journey alongside all the information. In fact, Mimansa is a good artist herself. I know that about her, and it is nice of her to give you a compliment. We also
I'm
have
honored. Thank you so much.
Sudeep Ji is saying it's worth joining live session. Thank you, Sudeep Ji. That is the whole endeavor, and keep joining and keep learning and keep asking these questions. Hey, we have a comment from Sid here. Siddhant is saying,
Oh,
really interesting to get to know about your failures. Never knew about this.
yeah, that's great. Good to know that he's finally watching something where I'm involved. So
So
thank you,
let us,
Siddhant.
yes, so Siddhant, for everybody's consumption, let me tell you that he is the young lad, son of Samir Belwalkar. And for him to say this live on YouTube right now, I think it is something interesting. Sid, don't worry. Just keep pushing Samir to talk to me. I'll get you more scoop from his career.
Of course, of course, of course.
We have Roshan asking, hello, Samir sir. I completed my photography course. So, what will you suggest to do to start a career as a fashion photographer?
Okay, so brutal truth, brutally honest. Why do you want to be a fashion photographer? I think you should forget being a fashion photographer. One, I tell this to everybody, and people have no reason why they want to be a fashion photographer. So if your calling is strong, pick up the camera, become a fashion photographer. But in the attempt of giving advice to people of how to start a fashion photography career, people don't realize that there's so many other genres of photography which are lying absolutely empty, waiting to be explored. So is fashion something that you really really want to do? Is one. Secondly, I think you should practice shooting fashion every day. If I ask people what is fashion photography, they have no answer to it. A lot of people think that shooting live fashion shows is fashion photography. If I ask
Right.
people what is the difference between advertising photography, editorial photography, a portfolio, and fashion, very few people can tell them apart. So first
I agree.
understand what fashion photography is, shoot every day, get better at your skill, and once you know how to wield the camera to your full potential, then it's only about shooting your specific genre and just getting better at it. But any art, practice is the key. Look at musicians, look at let's say sportsmen. Like, a singer will get up every morning and do his riyaz. A guitarist, a pianist, they'll practice every day. How is photography any different? I see more and more people wanting to be photographers and less people wanting to shoot every day to better their skill. It's an art. It needs to be practiced every day for you to get better at it. So I think let that be the start of your entry into the fashion career.
Fantastic. It's a skill and you need to practice it every day. That's a very, very good message from Samir. Vishal is asking you an interesting question. Actually, we should all know that. What difference you see in high-end mobile camera and proper camera? So I'm guessing when he
So,
says high-end, obviously he's talking about the mobile phones above a
of course,
lakh today.
of course, of course. So the biggest difference is the sensor size. The size of the sensor which catches the light pixels and forms the image. People don't realize. Of course, mobile phone photography is great nowadays, but if you're talking about reproducing what you click from a high-end mobile, the highest mobile camera that's out there, vis-a-vis a high-end digital SLR or even intermediate SLR, digital SLR, the output in terms of the reproduction is going to be much better with the DSLR because the sensor size inside is bigger, so it catches more information. So even if
Okay.
it's a 50 megapixel, 60 megapixel phone camera, you're forgetting that the sensor inside is just a small tiny chip. It's only going to record a certain amount of information. So in that sense, yes, it's made it very, very convenient. If you want to upload it to social media, great. I have done an entire fashion shoot just on a phone camera, just to prove something to some people, and it turned out really well. People did not even realize I did it on the phone without any lights,
Wow.
only thermocol sheets and reflectors, natural sunlight. But again, if I'm going to reproduce those, it's going to be a problem. Of course, it's not going to be a problem, but you compare that to any kind of a digital SLR, that's definitely going to have its advantages over a phone.
Wow. Great. So Vishal is saying any art practice is a key. Well said. And we have Chitra joining in. Chitra, thank you for joining in. She is a leader from the financial industry and somebody to reckon with. And she says, practice makes a man perfect. Well, Vishal,
Absolutely.
I hope you got all your queries sorted with the mobile, high-end mobile camera versus the real camera, right? So you spoke about sports some time back, and I know that you worked with some of the sports stars. In fact, currently you're doing the IPL Pro Kabaddi campaigns, right? You've done that as
I've
well.
done that in the past, yes.
Okay, you've done that in the past. You worked with Mary Com, PV Sindhu. So you answered to us that how celebrities are. Tell us a little about sports. I mean, because I know that you're one photographer who's very versatile. You don't just do fashion. You're also in the other genres. So number one question from my side: is it difficult for a photographer to be versatile? And number two question: that how are sports stars different from celebrities?
So initially, I remember a time where having a niche, having a specialization is very, very important in photography. In my formative years of my career, I was a press photographer for a while. I did pastry parties to I shot open manholes to overflowing drainages to
Are you
waterlogged.
serious?
Yeah, 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 of course, I've done all of that because I used to love shooting. It didn't matter what I shot. So I've done that, to food photography, to interiors, to name it. I've done it. I've done most of it. But after that, when the time was to go serious and make it into a business, what I had to choose was what is my specialization, because that's what's gonna carve a niche for me. And I chose people photography because people are everywhere and everyone wants to look good, and I can give people instructions. I can't give a plate of pasta and instructions, right? And it's not going to listen. It's more difficult for me, more effort on my side. So I chose people photography as my specialization. But I think nowadays, even though you're doing people photography, having different areas of specializations is the key right now to going forward, is what I feel. I remember a time where being a jack of all trades was considered a bad thing. But I think at this point in time, whatever my observations have been and my experience has been, if you're a jack of all trades, I think you will go much longer than having a certain specialization.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you
So,
you gotta
but
you
then
gotta
you learn one photography, become an expert in that genre and then move on, or do you
yes.
become an expert simultaneously?
No. You sell yourself as one specialization is what I do. I'm a people photographer. If you go to my website, you'll see only fashion and advertising.
Okay.
But there are a whole lot
Okay.
of people out there who know I do a lot of corporate work. There are a whole lot of people out
Wow.
there who know I do food, I do interiors, but I don't really sell it as my USP, because if any new person comes onto my website, they shouldn't really get confused कि इसका interiors अच्छा है कि इसके people shots अच्छे हैं.
So I like that. So you say you're a people photographer. That
Yes.
is something so interesting and
Yeah.
unique. I'm hearing it for
Correct.
the first time.
Correct.
So Rakshit is saying, Samir, how to ensure the color are accurate while editing? My God, because I guess the a lot. So if you had to put in percentage photography, actual photography versus editing, is it 50-50?
It's normally 75-25 for most photographers out there. 75
Okay.
editing and 25 photography.
And now you have so many softwares as well, right?
Of course. Everything that I've seen people do is, just take a acceptable picture with whatever lighting that they can manage and then fix everything in post, is what's going on everywhere. And trust me, most of the pictures that I post on my website, even on my social media, most of them are directly from the camera. Again, I'm not just trying to blow my own trumpet here, but I take great pride in the fact that my pictures are good to use directly from the camera. The only thing that I need
Okay.
to fix are the bumps on the skin, or just some stray hair somewhere, but then that's the responsibility of the model, so it's not on me.
So, what advice, one tip that you can give to Rakshit, that how to ensure the colors are accurate while editing? Is there something that we need to keep in mind?
So when you want to have accurate colors, you get into the whole theory of color balancing or white balancing. So what I do, Rachit, is I shoot a 18% gray picture and match the colors to the 18% gray. Again, this is technical, not going into detail. Or I've got something known as the color checker. So whenever I'm shooting on my Hasselblad medium format, I told you it's very unforgiving. So all the colors generally go for a toss because the camera does not know which is white, which is gray, which is black. So what happens is, with this color checker, it's like a palette. It looks like a makeup person's palette where you've got multitude of colors and it's got different shades of black and gray. You take a picture of
Wow.
that and you tell the camera that this is my black, this is my white, this is my gray. And once the computer knows, okay, this is white, this is black, this is gray, then it puts all the values of the other colors into place.
Oh, interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
so
So,
that's how I normally do my color balancing.
there
But
you go,
again,
Rakshit. You got an
yeah,
insight tip.
yeah. But then again, I like wrong colors because what makes the picture more interesting. You know,
Yeah, and
instead of,
expose the
yeah,
people.
exactly. And if you actually go to see Instagram and all the filters that Instagram has, all these filters where all the errors that people were not happy with when people were shooting with film, like a light leaking into the camera, or the colors going for a toss, or a lens aberration, or colors going wrong. These are all the things that we have on Instagram today, and people flaunt it like nobody's business. But of course, if I'm shooting a garment for a client, he wants his colors to be perfect. At that time, I will do color balancing and get perfect colors. But other than that, I do not like shooting technically correct pictures because they're hardly creative.
Wow, wow, that is something interesting. I didn't know that. But when you're clicking my portfolio, please make sure you're
Of course, of
technical.
course, of course. Yes, yes.
Okay, no threats here. ये धमकी का time नहीं है. I'm going to take the next question from Uday.
Yeah.
Sir, do you think by these high-tech cameras, low-level skill person in photography can also be a good photographer? Uday, I know you want to be a photographer. So Samir, let's hear you out on this.
Uh, do you think by these high-tech cameras, low-level skilled persons can also?
Can also be
No,
a
no, no,
good.
no, 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 no. Uday, get this very, very clear. It's never about the camera. Some of my best pictures are pictures that I've shot on my mobile phone. Trust me. It's always about seeing the picture in your head before you capture it on camera. If you can't see it in your head, no matter how high-end camera you have, you'll never be able to capture on camera.
Capture it.
The whole idea
Absolutely.
of taking the whole secret behind taking good pictures is being able to visualize. So what happens is you have to bombard your subconscious with a lot of content.
Yeah.
I've seen so many pictures of so many photographers that I've aspired to be like, through magazines, online, here, there, books. Whenever I travel abroad, I collect so many books on aspirational photographers, and I've seen so much of this content that I don't know, nowadays sometimes it just comes out of my head. Okay, this is like this is like that, and then I very unknowingly find a reference to a picture I've seen maybe 15 years back.
Oh, okay. As
So
we
that,
say, they are taking inspiration.
yeah, exactly, inspiration, correct. So you have to have your subconscious completely flooded with different pictures and what you aim to shoot at some point in time. So learn to see creatively. The technical part is very easy. Anybody can do it. And like look around you, everybody is doing it.
Wow. So Bharat Haladi is asking, at events, how can photographers be less intrusive? Most of them block the view of the audience. Very valid question. And clearly, he's attended a lot of events where he's had an issue with the photographers blocking the view. I've
Correct,
seen it
correct.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's a photographer wanting to be less intrusive, or he's an audience who wants to, get a photographer out of his face.
Well, from the looks of it, he is actually in the audience in the front row, to be precise.
Right, right. So I don't know. I've never shot events, so I wouldn't know. But I would say that if you use a long lens, if you use a longer zoom lens, maybe you can stand at the back and shoot, as against shooting at a focal length of, let's say, 35 mil or 50 mil, and being right under the stage. You can probably use 100 mil, 150 mil, 200 mil, and actually go back and then shoot the pictures. That's what I would guess. And
And
of
I
course,
think the photographers, and I think Sameer, the photographers who are blocking the view shouldn't be in the profession.
exactly, exactly. Like somebody like me, like I'm 6 foot two and I'm big. So imagine me shooting an event. I would block everybody's view even if I didn't want to. So,
So we are getting a lot of validation also here, not just questions. Rakshit said that color checker and 18% gray, thanks very much. And Uday also acknowledged your answer. That's great. Well said, sir. Well, you have a nice fan here who's watching our show, Vidya
oh, well,
Gajari. Your
that's my
laughter is
birthday
very good.
actually.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
how sweet of her to join. She's
Thank you,
she's, uh,
Vidya.
she's all of her 83 years of age, and she's my mother's eldest sister.
Oh, adorable. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. And I'm impressed that at that age, she's technically so sound to watch the
I
show and
know, I know.
interact with us.
Yes, yes, yes.
Apurva is saying interesting insights. Well, lots of validation. Mamta is asking, what is people photography?
People photography is where you shoot people and take a vow to not make them look worse than what they are, but making them look better than what they are.
Yeah, yeah, that's very simply defined. But I know that you very often say, Sameer, that a picture says a million things. In corporate, when we do trainings, we often say that a picture says is one picture equivalent to 1,000 words. Now, when a picture is saying a million things, how do we make, especially women? Because I see women very, very conscious, including myself, when the camera comes on, right?
Mhm.
About a figure, about a skin. So, how do you make somebody like a female model more comfortable?
So basically, I would do a lot of things. There's no thumb rule for it, honestly, but depends on what part of herself is she conscious about. First is about, I give everyone I shoot a lot of compliments. I am always flattering them. I try to get them into a certain momentum so that the energy is high on set, and I tend to shoot quickly. I'm not somebody who will take one picture and then review it for 5 10 seconds, one picture and again 5 10 seconds. So I'm always very high energy. I'm shouting, I'm elated. People might think I'm on drugs or something, but I really believe that my energy translates into the subject's energy. So if I keep my energy high, automatically the other person's energy gets lifted. And the best way of making a person comfortable is clicking some pictures and showing it to them.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, get an instant validation, make them
Yeah,
comfortable.
yeah. And I'm
Right.
somebody who does, after every 5 clicks, I always go up to the person and I want them to see it. And then on the pictures, I'll tell them that this is so great about you, and this is so, this is something which you can really improvise on.
Improvise on. Okay.
Yeah. So there's no negative talk at all. It's always encouraging them to go to the next step.
Awesome. So lots of learning here, even for me. Can you give us one tip, those who love to click pictures on mobile phones, to all the viewers? What is that one thing that we should be careful about? We
Can
all love clicking.
you want to repeat that?
One,
I can correct a bit.
one tip for all of us mango people who are watching this show, because we love using our mobile phones to click and upload on Instagram. So can you share that one tip with us? What should we be careful about our poses, our stances, our expression, or the lighting?
Stop using filters.
Oh, yeah, well said.
Stop using filters, because the minute you're using a filter, subconsciously you're telling yourself and the world that you're not happy with how you are. It's as simple as that.
As simple as that.
You
Well
know?
said. Well said. I
Yeah.
think that's a great takeaway, at least for me and all those who are watching here. Well, friends, any skill can be achieved 100% if you keep practicing. And like Sameer is saying, I know the dedication and the commitment that Sameer puts in every day. Barring aside the fact that both of us are actually workaholics, but we love and admire and respect our craft, right, Sameer?
Yes, very much.
So, a lot of youngsters are watching this show, including Siddharth. And a lot of youngsters today that I see and I train and I groom, I see that there is a fad of picking up photography. And by God's grace, they can, or mostly they can afford it. right? To
Yes.
buy a new camera because it becomes a fad to flaunt at school, at college. So what is the top three pointers of advice as a senior expert from the industry, as well as a father, as well as an idol for so many youngsters who follow you amongst your team, outside your photography unit? What are those three things that you'll advise the youngsters or the youth today,
So advice to youngsters who want to pick up the camera.
and who want to follow the fad of photography?
Okay, so first have a good why. Why do you want to be a photographer? Because when there are a million people out there who are your competition already, why do you want to be a photographer? So there's one thing that I just want to be a photographer, but do you really have it in you to make it? Do you want to be an artist, or do you want to run your photography as a business? Because that's what I did. I did not want to be an artist. Of course, I'm an artist by default, but sorry to say this, but artists, in my opinion, always die poor, and it's only after that they've passed away their value is the value is it just
This
shoots
is
through the
the
roof.
truth. This
This
is
is the
the truth.
truth.
What you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly. So do you want to be an artist? Then if you want to be an artist, then you probably should have something on the side, and then you can also be an artist.
True.
So
True.
advice number one is, why do you want to be a photographer? Second would be, have a side gig. Don't have
Okay.
don't have photography as your whole and soul, because in today's time it's extremely difficult not to shoot the picture but to get in the business.
Correct.
So if you actually want to learn photography, I would say you also go and do a management course on how to get the business inside.
Wow.
You
Well
know,
said. Well
yeah.
said.
So that's more important than photography itself, because there's so much of material out there on photography. You go to YouTube, spend time for maybe 2 3 hours, and you'll get to know everything about photography. And honestly, that's all that there is to it. And then it's about like 95 98% of just practicing it. But the real challenge is getting the work in. If there's no work coming in, what are you going to shoot? And the
Excellent.
third advice would be, once you decide to buy the camera, and when you actually buy it, shoot every day. That's extremely important. I see a lot of people shoot only when they will get a expensive camera, only when they'll get a really good, hot, good looking model to shoot. And third reason is, I don't know, third reason could be a multitude of things, but yeah, there are always excuses to not shoot.
So true. No, very nicely you put it across. And I'm sure a lot of young audience who are watching the show right now will benefit from this. Before we end the show, one another big myth that you would like to break about photography. Do we have another myth?
About photography, so being behind the camera, the biggest myth is you've got to have expensive equipment to
Right,
you
that we
know yeah,
discussed.
that we discussed. In terms of facing the camera, people feel that they have to be 6 feet and above. They feel that they need to have surfboard abs, eight packs.
Oh,
People feel that
yes.
they need to be drop dead gorgeous, like maybe a Deepika or a Priyanka Chopra or a Aishwarya Rai. It is not the case. Today people want more real looking faces. If you look at whatever hoardings we see, TV ads we see of whatever brands, well, there are a certain number of brands that only celebrities are endorsing, but you'll see almost 70 to 80% of the ads out there which are endorsed and which are done by real looking people, because they want the relatability of the common man to the product or the brand. So in
Wow.
that sense, an entire market is thrown open where you can actually be in front of the camera, be very average looking, be looking like yourself, and still make a mark in this career. So that's one very
Amazing.
very big myth. If you want to do ramp shows, then yes, of course, guys need to be 6 feet tall, girls need to be 5'9", 5'10". But again, ramps is just like a fraction of the entire business that's out there. But yeah, there are a lot of
Absolutely.
other places where people need real looking people only.
Amazing. Samir, we are getting a lot of acknowledgement, feedback. My phone is buzzing with a lot of WhatsApp because you've been absolutely candid and honest in this conversation. And that's what I love. The endeavor here on this show, remember we were discussing prior to this show that we want to highlight conversations that people usually don't talk about. They only talk about the fanciness of a profession. They don't talk about what it took to be here. And I respect you a lot. What are your parting thoughts?
My parting thoughts are, I think for photographers, just shoot a lot and be your own best critic. I really feel that you're only as good as your last shoot. So whatever shoot you're getting into is going to determine how good, average, or bad you are. So I think, yeah, put all your energy into it. I really feel that being nervous before a photo shoot brings out the best in me. So don't be overconfident. You never know how the tables will turn and how the shoot will go. So always be prepared and over prepared.
Wow.
I guess
Wow.
that's about it.
So planning is equally important before a shoot, right? I know that you've done longer plannings and your shoot has finished in a snap.
Yes, I'm known to be very fast, and that's my USP. I do a lot of research on celebrities before I go into a shoot with them because that becomes a very good icebreaker. So
Wow.
the more
Okay.
things I know about them, about their achievements. Of course, my team, Rahul, he always, he's a very big cricket buff. So whenever I've shot cricketers, he always tells me, okay, talk about this victory, talk about this six that he hit. And then, that's a good icebreaker because, it also seems like I am interested in what they are doing in their life. So do
Wow.
your research, know where you want to go with it. Don't have references in your head, but don't copy stuff. So there are a lot of things I could just go on, but principally just shoot a lot. That's the only thing that's gonna take you to the other side.
Samir, you've highlighted a lot of things that these are called the transferable skills. And
Yes.
these skills can be taken from one industry to the other, right?
Yes.
Because you spoke about planning, you spoke about being authentic, you spoke about not using filters while we are looking at a lens, but we have to use all these skill sets, which is going to come in handy. Well, Swati is saying very useful information. Thank you, Samir sir.
Most welcome, Swati.
And we have Roshan saying, thank you for answering my last question. And I really want to be a fashion photographer. So, can I start my career by assisting any fashion photographer like you? Well, I'm going to answer on Samir's behalf, Roshan, because I do know, Samir, that occasionally, because I know you remain very busy, but occasionally you do photography batches at your academy,
Yes,
right?
yes. I do master classes.
You do master classes, excellent. So for those of you who want to learn from Samir, it might be a great idea to get in touch with his office. Put your names there, put your numbers there, because the next time when Samir is organizing his batch where he will personally be giving in some tips and making you a better photographer, they'll keep you in mind. Rahul is an absolutely hands-on person. Vishal is saying thanks for such an honest talk.
Of course,
And
most welcome. In fact, it's such a coincidence that right now, just 2 days back, I've thrown the studio open to new assistants. So anybody who wants to become an assistant and treat this like a 1 year advanced course, they can go to my Instagram, click on the link, and they will find a link in there which says "Become an Assistant." There's a small form which you fill. If we select you, we'll get in touch with you. So that's also one way of learning from me and photographers like me.
that's even better. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Can I apply for being an assistant?
This is too overqualified.
Well, from Royal Harmonica Club, he's saying that was well said, Samir. Do not copy anyone. For when you do, you make his mistakes your own. And
That's my dad,
Ranjana,
by the way.
oh, really?
Great
Oh,
to see the
wow.
whole family is here. So,
Thank you, sir, for supporting both of us, in fact, and for watching the show. And thank you, everybody, all the audiences, for being here. There's lots of learning, not just for photography enthusiasts, but for everybody who wants to have interesting key takeaways, right?
totally, totally, yes.
So Mimansa is saying, very interesting, though not from photography background. It was an absolute pleasure listening to both of you. A great show.
I'm glad.
Fantastic. On that note, Samir, I wish you an excellent weekend. Thank you so much for sparing your time. Did you know that we've almost reached an hour of conversation?
Yeah, I'm telling you, we should do this like a whole day's thing. I'm telling you, and even then, I think we'll be short of time.
Exactly. And we always bring in guests. So if you want to see Samir again, feel free to just use any one of our handles on social media. We both are approachable and you can just drop in a request. We'll try and get Samir back on the D show. So once again, Samir, thanks a ton. And I'll see you soon for my next portfolio.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna kill it soon. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. See you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us here. You make this show very, very interesting. And thank you for spending time to engaging with us. I hope I bring you a lot of value on time by bringing meaningful content. Keep your requests coming in, who you would like to see on the next D show, and I will be here sipping my tea as Dr. D and making it worthwhile for all of you. A lot of planning goes into it for every show, so would love your support. Share this link, share the YouTube link, have people subscribe to it. It would mean a lot to me. Take care. Cheers. Bye.